of ConnectEd. I'm Joyce Judy, President of the Community College of Vermont, and I'm joined by Scott Giles, President and CEO of Vermont Student Assistance Corporation. And many of you in our listening audience probably know Vermont Student Assistance Corporation as VSAC. And VSAC has had a long history of helping so many Vermonters figure out how to get to college and afford to pay for college. So welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much, Joyce.
So today we're here to talk a little bit about both VSAC and CCV, and then we will spend some time. We have a special guest here to talk about CCV's apprenticeship program. So to talk about CCV, the Community College of Vermont is Vermont's second largest college. It's always fascinating for people who are in one of our 12 locations to realize that collectively CCV is bigger than almost any college except for the University of Vermont. We serve about 10,000 students every year. That's 10,000 Vermonters. And we have 12 locations throughout the state of Vermont. Every semester, we offer about 900 classes, and about 300 of those are online. So we are seeing that both on ground and online are a really important mix for Vermonters in order to be able to access college and be able to go to college. We also, people ask me all the time, why do students come to CCV? And students really come to CCV for lots of reasons. Some come because they can earn the equivalent of their first 2 years and then transfer to places like the University of Vermont, Champlain, another of the Vermont State Colleges, NVU, Castleton, Vermont Technical College, or one of the other privates, and save a significant amount of money in their first 2 years. On the other hand, other people come to us because they either are in the workforce and they're stuck where they are, they've been passed over for promotions, they're looking to retrain. We have people who have been hurt, and now all of a sudden they can't do the job that they've always done. And so they come to us to receive additional training, earn a certificate, earn a degree. So we really serve a huge diversity of Vermonters. And we jokingly say that Vermont is our campus. Go ahead, Scott.
Great. Joyce, thank you very much for the introduction and all the work that CCV and your staff do to support the students that I think we both serve together. You're a great partner. And actually, ConnectEd is an example of that partnership. Mm-hmm. As our teams came together, we know that we get many questions about how it is that families are going to be able to access the education or training that they will need. So we decided to do a monthly program, and over the course of the next 12 months, we hope to share some of the things that we have learned and that our teams have learned about how it is that education and training after high school for students of all ages can be readily accessible and available. The Vermont Student Assistance Corporation was created by the legislature back in 1965, and our mission really is to make sure that all Vermonters, regardless of their circumstances or their age, have access to the financial aid and the information resources that they need in order to be able to pursue education and training after high school, because we know that every Vermonter is going to need some form of education, or training. And we do that through a series of programs. We've got the College Savings Plan, which I know we're going to have a chance to talk about in one of the future episodes, where 20,000 Vermonters are saving money for education and training. We've got career and education counselors providing counseling to students in nearly every middle school and high school, and adult counselors working on many of your campuses in partnership with CCV. We award over $20 million worth of grants each year to students to help make education and training, affordable. We offer student loans, which many students need some form of student loan in order to be able to pursue their education. But after that, one of the really important things, and I know we will talk about this in the future as well, it can be confusing trying to figure out how to pull all of these things together in a way that meets a family's particular needs. And then after you graduate, you're learning how to repay those loans. And VSAC stands with all Vermonters to help provide counseling, whether you're a customer of ours or not.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I will just, give a shout out to VSAC, because I think that one of the things that we hear so much today is the cost of education and just a tremendous student loan debt problem. And I think Vermonters are very lucky to have a resource like VSAC to really help so many people, so many families figure out a path forward in terms of being able to fund their education. So VSAC is a huge benefit to Vermonters, both traditional 18 to 25-year-olds, but for a lot of our students, they're 25 to 50, and they need as much support in trying to figure out how to fund their education.
You know, absolutely. I think one of the things that we've learned together, and we can probably look at ourselves, we used to say that, somebody is going to have 5 or 6 jobs through the course of their life. Now that looks more like a career. So education and training is now a lifetime process for so many of our students. So it's not just working with a student in high school, but we know that when they're adults, they're going to be looking for opportunities to strengthen their education and training and build their skills over time. One of the things that I know you and I had talked a lot about is the affordability question. And we know that, I should say October is kind of a financial aid month for us at VSAC, where we kick off a lot of our programs. And I thought it'd be useful for us to take a couple minutes and talk about what aid is available, but also what it is that families can do and need to do to make sure that they're getting all of the financial aid that they have access to. And then I'm hoping we'll share a little bit about, I think, something that's exciting about what that grant aid means for a student that is going to be attending kind of CCV. So one of the things I hear all the time is college is affordable. Where is this money going to come from? How do I afford it? And the process is complicated. And I'll start out by saying that at CCV there are counselors, and at VSAC there are counselors that will work with any family to try and make sure that the process is as painless as possible. But I will start out with the piece that everybody needs to know. It's the worst acronym that the federal government could have come up with. It's called the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Assistance. And it is the first thing that every family needs to fill out.
It's a gateway.
It absolutely is a gateway. And the nice part is that you can fill it out and get a sense for how much aid that you will get from the federal government before you start to think about what your educational path or training path is going to be. And, if I look at high school seniors, one of the things that we, kind of struggle with a little bit is only 60% of high school seniors are completing that form. And, we estimate that these families are leaving $3 or $4 million a year of financial aid that they could get access to
on the table,
right on the table. And some of them making decisions that they can't attend an institution because it's not affordable, but they don't know what aid is available to them.
Yeah, I think that there are so many ways to put together of an affordable path. And when I say affordable, affordable is relative to everybody. But I think that, what worries me is that so many people are taking themselves, families and students are taking themselves out of thinking about continuing their education because they hear the sticker price of colleges, and they also hear there's been so much in the media about the student loan debt, and is it worth the time, and is it worth the money? And if you look at the projections of jobs for the future, the entry-level jobs that were available with my generation are just not going to be available in the future. And so if you look at the jobs that are being created, and many of them you can't even imagine what is being created, are just do require education beyond the high school level. And so how do you afford that? And so there are lots of different paths, and every path is not the right one for everyone. So CCV isn't the right school for every student, but it's one alternative to getting to where you need to be.
Absolutely. And so we are working together with students across the state to make sure that, and students of all ages, we'll make sure that we talk about adult students as well, to make sure that you fill out the FAFSA. And we're finding now that you can fill out that form, in less than 45 minutes, despite what people have heard about it. Then fill out the state grant application because, as we talked about at the top of the show, we're awarding over $20 million in grants to Vermont students. And then the third piece of this is scholarships, because at VSAC, we're administering over $5.5 million worth of scholarships, so that you can go to the VSAC website, you can find all of the, what we call the free gift aid that is available to you, fill out those forms, and pull together a package that makes education affordable for many families, most families, in fact.
I think one of the things too that oftentimes we find from students is, what is the difference between a grant and a scholarship and a loan? So I think one of the things that's very important is a grant is money that you're entitled to that you don't have to pay back. So that's a really important piece. So if you're eligible for X dollars of a grant, that's money that you don't have to pay back. On the other side, student loan debt is money that you borrow and that you agree that when you finish your education, you will pay that back. And in the middle, I always think, are scholarships. Those are things that you apply for and you're awarded. So grants are more like, I filled out the FAFSA, I'm entitled to this amount of money. Scholarships, I look on your website, I see, oh, I am interested in accounting and I'm going to a Vermont school, so I can apply for this scholarship because it's very specific. And then to make up the balance of how do I afford my education, you have the option of borrowing money. One of the really important grant programs, Scott, that has gone through a little bit of change that is important, particularly to CCV students who may be thinking about taking a course or two to try it out, or they're an adult and they're coming back and they just need a couple of courses. So they're not going to be a full-time student and they're not going to borrow a lot of money. And that used to be called the non-degree grant. And now it's called the advancement grant. And so we've had a little shift in that. And I know that the legislature also gave an additional $500,000 to VSAC to support that program. But that is an incredibly important program, particularly for adults who are thinking that they need some retraining. You can just apply for that and get support for a course or a couple of courses. It's not going through the whole thing. So there's lots of programs that are available.
You know, absolutely. And one of my favorite stories about the advancement grant is a story that involves kind of partnership with CCV, where our adult outreach counselors were working with a woman who needed a course in an accounting course in order to be able to get a job, promotion into a job in bookkeeping that had benefits. And she was able to use the advancement grant to take a class at CCV that gave her, that skill that she needed in order to be promoted to a position that took her from part-time to full-time with benefits. And, boy, that was such a tremendous win for her and for her family, because it really gave her the opportunity to acquire a job that allowed her to support her family fully. And I think that's what both our organizations are all about.
And I will say, we're seeing more and more younger students look at the cost of a 4-year degree and realize that it's pretty expensive. But if I started at CCV, I will use the University of Vermont as an example. And we have great articulation agreements, but you can start at CCV and save $10,000 a year and get your bachelor's degree at UVM and save $20,000 on the front end. And that's before you've worked with VSAC to try and figure out, do I have grant money? Are there some scholarships that I'm entitled to? And all of a sudden you have an affordable way to get a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely.
So I think if anything that we can do on this program is to help people realize that there are lots of options, and just don't dismiss continuing your education beyond high school because of money, because there are pots of money available.
Absolutely true. And I really appreciate your story about students that have the opportunity to start there. I think we've shared before. My son, went to CCV for 3 semesters and then transferred to the University of Vermont. It was a seamless process. Your counselors and the UVM folks identified the courses that would transfer perfectly, and he was able to graduate this last May, from there. Now, one of the things I did want to talk about is the work that we do together across the state to help families navigate this, because you've got counselors at all of your centers that are providing work. Our counselors, we do FAFSA and financial aid kind of nights at virtually every high school across the state. We've reintroduced our FAFSA Fridays that provide folks the opportunity for individualized help. So one of the things I think both of us would say is if you've got questions about how it is that you access this aid or how to pull a package together, call us at VSAC, go to our website, or if you are near a CCV kind of center, reach out to one of your staff.
That's right. I think, the second thing, in addition to, yes, there are ways to fund your education, the second message that, I hope people take from this is that there's help available. And VSAC has just an amazing array of people who work in high schools as well as adult counselors. And CCV has invested a lot in financial aid counselors throughout the state. So we have at least one financial aid counselor in all 12 of our locations. So it's a phone call away.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be taking a break now for a moment, and when we come back, Joyce will be talking about an exciting new apprenticeship program that you all are launching.
Sounds great.
Years ago, I was raising my own family, opening our business. When I decided to go back to finish my education, CCV was absolutely the logical choice for me. They had classes in the evening, and it is incredibly accessible. They have a program called the Assessment of Prior Learning. I was able to recognize a lot of college credits for life experience that I had had so that I could further my education. I go to CCV because it allows me to be my best me.
Wow, welcome back. And now we have Tiffany Cuny with us. Tiffany is our Associate Dean of Workforce Education at CCV. And Tiffany is really here to talk about a new program for us. Vermont has been having apprenticeship programs, particularly in the electrical and plumbing field. Many people are familiar with that. But with Tiffany's leadership, we are really launching some additional apprenticeship programs. And really at the very core, apprenticeships are about being able to earn and learn at the same time. So you're working and you're going to school. But with that, Tiffany, I would love to have you give us an overview of where we are, talk about a couple of our specific programs, and help share the excitement that we have that this is a wonderful opportunity, whether you're 18 or 30, to get involved in an apprenticeship program. So Tiffany, give us an overview.
Well, Scott and Joyce, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and longtime VSAC user, both parent and student. So thank you both for having me. You're right, Joyce. We have had a lot of apprenticeship opportunities in Vermont for a long time, generally in the trades, plumbing and electrical and construction. And we've done a great job with that. But what the U.S. Department of Labor wanted to see was an expansion of apprenticeships into what they're calling non-traditional apprenticeship careers. So what CCV has done, which is very new and happening all over the country, is having community colleges become the sponsor of apprenticeship. So community colleges now will house the apprenticeship for the businesses. So they are the one that is the go-between with Vermont Department of Labor and can do some of the paperwork, keep track of the students and the competencies that are happening on the job to make it a little easier, especially for smaller Vermont businesses that can't house, 20 apprentices at a time. They could have 1 or 2 apprentices and the community college can help them facilitate that process.
So give me a couple of examples of where we have really developed the apprenticeship program. We have launched it. We have students involved, both from the college perspective and also where they're working. So give us a few really specific examples, because there's some wonderful, exciting stuff.
We have some
happening.
great stuff going on. And I think what I'll start with is pre-apprenticeship, which is the preparation of people going into an apprenticeship program who need some either work in educational pieces or some on-the-job pieces prior to entering into an official registered apprenticeship. And just the little note there, registered apprenticeship means that it's registered through the state of Vermont. We're a state level apprenticeship state. So we don't work federally on apprenticeships. We work at the state level. And those apprenticeships, they like to call apprenticeship with the big A, have been registered and are official through the state. And that's the ones that I'll talk about today. So I'd like to talk about a program in pre-apprenticeship that we're doing with Central Vermont Medical Center. We noted that there was an issue in getting nurses into the medical center in the volume that they need them. And we've heard that all over the country. And we're trying to find new ways to get that to happen in a new pipeline of nurses. And so what CVMC was interested interested in is how about we grow our own? We have a lot of great people here who work well. They're here, they're dedicated to CVMC and to Vermont. Is there a way for us to get them where they need to be to become nurses? So we went through a process with them. They identified 19 people who are currently LNAs who could become nurses. And we went through the process with local advisors at CCV to see what kind of education do they need in order to get where they need to go. We placed them into either work in the summer in math and reading and writing and things like that, or as they've gone on, they've entered into anatomy and physiology and intro to nutrition. And so they're in those courses right now. And then the students who didn't need any of the prerequisites will enter directly into a program at Vermont Tech. So all of them will apply. Right around actually this time of year, they'll start their applications to Vermont Tech to enter into the nursing program, and they will become apprentices in nursing, which is a new idea for people when they enter into Vermont Tech.
So as I understand that program, there are 19 people. They're all LNAs at Central Vermont Hospital. They've been employed by Central Vermont, some for a couple years, some for 15 years. And they all aspired to become nurses, but couldn't leave their job to go to school full time. So a partnership between the hospital, CCV, and Vermont Tech has allowed that to happen. And the hospital is making a huge sacrifice because they're working around the schedule. They're giving people some time to take courses. All of the courses that we're offering are at Central Vermont Hospital, so it reduces the travel time. And so it's quite wonderful. And, one of the things that CCV has an allied health certificate program because we feed Vermont Tech's nursing program. A few years ago, and I haven't had the last couple of years, but 3 years ago, 73% of the students who graduated in nursing from Vermont Tech started at CCV. So this is a pipeline. It's a way for people who, whether you're just graduating from high school and you want to go into the nursing profession, or you all of a sudden have decided, this is what, I've been dabbling in the health field and now I want to be a nurse. So that's a very exciting one. We have a couple others. Do you want to share those?
We do, and I think just sticking with healthcare for a bit, because I think this apprenticing in healthcare is new for people. We have a new program in the state at CCV for pharmacy technicians, and this one is close to my heart. I was a pharmacy tech in a previous life, and I really feel it is, as we're talking about career pathways and pipelines for people, putting on that white coat when you go to work every day is a life-changing experience, and it was for me. So I'm really excited that we brought this program. What we're looking at is helping people all over the state who are interested in becoming pharmacy technicians, either in a retail establishment, which we like to call community pharmacy, or at the hospital. And so we have students all the way up from St. Albans down to Brattleboro and Bennington and everywhere in between who are interested in this program. So what we did this semester was we created some new coursework. We have a new Intro to Pharmacy course taught by a pharmacist who also teaches at the Albany College of Pharmacy, which gives us a great pipeline for people who might want to go further in that field. And we've paired it with customer service training and some computer training to get people the skills they need to be successful in pharmacy. Along with that, we've worked with CVS Health, who came to us and said, could you please do an apprenticeship in pharmacy? Because we have these all over the country. We really need one in Vermont. And we looked at the competencies they had, along with some competencies sent to us by local hospitals and other places, and have the on-the-job pieces for people who will be doing their coursework and then also working in a local pharmacy. The really great thing is these students meet over Zoom technology. So they're able to meet via their phone. They can go on a computer or laptop and they can meet their teacher once a week live and be able to have a conversation with her, get a lecture from her, and then do work online from anywhere they are in the state of Vermont.
That is so exciting. And then the final apprenticeship I'd love to just touch on is the one in manufacturing.
Yes.
Because Vermont, whether we acknowledge it or not, Vermont has an incredibly strong and vibrant manufacturing economy. And when I say that to people, sometimes I think they look at me like I have three heads, but we do. And so do you want to share a little bit about
Yes,
that?
Vermont has a very strong manufacturing, and has for a very, very long time, and we're very excited to help people get into that field. There have been apprenticeships in manufacturing at a higher level for people who have been in school for a long time, or they're engineers or machinists. What we wanted to see was an apprenticeship that would allow people to come into production. And so we have two college level courses, Principles of Manufacturing and Manufacturing Technology. And those paired again with competencies on the job are the pieces that make the production technician apprenticeship. Right now in Bennington, we're starting, and I think even yesterday we had a class that started down there working with some businesses to group together into a consortium, and also working with the Career Development Center on some pieces, since they have big machinery that people can work on as well. They can learn the production pieces from us, get credentials in that area, and then also learn the machine pieces while they go and do on-the-job training.
You know what I think is so exciting about this, in part, we always are getting questions from folks. Are there alternate ways to get a credential or the skills I need to get a good job beyond getting a 2 or a 4-year degree? And this is just a perfect example of one of the ways that you're innovating to meet what is a need for employers. But on the other end of this, these folks are getting great jobs that allow them to earn really good income without necessarily pursuing the 2 or 4-year degree, but at the same time leaving them the path to do that if they decide later on in their careers they want the additional education. I think this is really exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I think, over time, we're going to see more and more people accessing education beyond high school with, come, I'll get a credential, I'll leave, I'll come back. And, and this is why financial aid and always knowing that VSAC's out there to be able to really support me whenever I decide to, it's not just for the 16, 17-year-olds.
Yeah, kind of absolutely. Well, this is really exciting. So,
well, thank you so much, Tiffany, for being here, and also for helping push CCV to really think about to think about apprenticeships in ways that we have never thought about this. It's an exciting time for us, and an exciting program. And the credit goes to Tiffany.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for all of your work kind of supporting these students.
So I think this is it for our first episode of ConnectEd, or ConnectEd, I should say. At the beginning of when we were thinking about this, I was like, okay, is this ConnectEd or is this ConnectEd? And it's ConnectEd. So, but this is our first episode, and Scott, I just really want to thank you for teaming up with CCV and for launching our first show.
Joyce, thank you very much. And as always, excited to be a partner with CCV in almost any venture that you're interested in. And thanks to our viewers for joining us today. Our next edition, we're going to be taking on some important things, how you can earn free college credits at CCV, as well as some information about how to repay your student loans and avoid some of the loan scams that are out there kind of preying on some Vermont families. Thank you.
Thank you.